Howdy folks, welcome to the channel Rockin' the Country. I'm Don. I've got part 2 of the history of Dwight Yoakam as presented by CMT. Renee Mooberry made a gift to me to do this 5-part series, so it was a much larger gift than the usual gift to the channel to do, like a 4-minute song or what have you. But if you want information on how to make a gift to the channel for me to do a song or a reaction, it's in the information box below. But Renee, thank you for this gift and part 2 of learning. I love learning. There's certain things that I learned, like, for example, about Dwight. I didn't know he grew up in Columbus, Ohio. I know he was born in Pikeville, Kentucky, which is why I'm wearing my Kentucky hat. It's just, I didn't know that part of it. So then I wonder, because I'm a college sports fan, I wonder what team he roots for. Is it like UK? Is it Louisville? Is it the Buckeyes? I don't know. Anyhow, let's find out now. We're going to watch part 2.
Dangerous hips in country music since Elvis Presley.
A lethal combination of style, mystery, and skin-tight jeans.
Dangerous
I
hips.
asked him one time how he gets those pants on and off.
His hardcore honky-tonk was once rejected as too country for country.
We got fired from every club we played.
So he took refuge in the West Coast cowpunk scene.
It was loud, proud, and reckless,
And emerged not only as one of country music's most influential singers, but one of its most eligible bachelors as well.
I had no idea that his sex appeal would hit me over the head like a sledgehammer. I said, "Bob, that man in that cowboy hat, and he's mine."
A revealing look at the very private life and colorful career of Dwight Yoakam on CMT Inside Fame.
I love this part. Love these things.
Dwight Yoakam is and always has been pure, unapologetic honky-tonk. The sexy, tight-jeaned, brooding poster boy for twangy, hardcore country music. In the mid-'80s, he spawned a whole new generation of country music fans with his hip-swiveling revival of the 60s Bakersfield sound made famous by his hero, Buck Owens.
I personally think that the country music industry owes a huge debt of gratitude to Dwight Yoakam because he was the first artist to really make country music hip.
He was the only guy at that point saying traditional country music is cool.
Not content with only one creative outlet, he forged a second career rivaling his music success in acclaim and accolades, that of bona fide Hollywood movie star.
He now boasts a resume that would make most Hollywood actors envious. He has almost 20 movies under his belt.
This is a man who is a multimedia figure now. I mean, after Sling Blade and these films he has done, he's not just this tight jean cowboy-hatted singer. He's a respected actor.
At times defiant and always uncompromising, Dwight cut his own independent path to success in music and movies on his own terms.
He's always had kind of a rebellious streak, and he's been one to go against the grain a bit and not to follow the rules.
Dwight is one of those people that, if I must say so myself, does things a little differently.
Yeah.
And has always danced to a different beat.
Well, he's got 2 personas. First of all, it's that really sexy lone hero thing on stage with the little hips twisting. And then in the movies, often, he plays the really dark bad guy. Both of them are an act. One is on stage, one is on camera. So, the real Dwight is somewhere else.
He's
the
a
real
philosopher.
Dwight David Yoakam was born October 23, 1956 in Pikeville, Kentucky, the eldest of 3 children born to parents David and Ruth Ann. Theirs was a humble, devoutly religious family, grounded in traditional values and wholesome ideals.
I had the great fortune of being parented by 2 of the most decent people I've ever had the pleasure of knowing, and probably will ever have a pleasure of knowing.
They're the kind of people that will do anything for you, will give you anything.
When Dwight was a year old, the family moved from the Appalachian Hills of southeast Kentucky to the upper Midwest, settling in Columbus, Ohio. There, Dwight's father ran a filling station, and his mother worked as an office secretary to support their growing family. However, the Yoakams, like many other families who had migrated north, continued to regard Kentucky as home.
Friday they went home. Where was home? Back down to Kentucky and West Virginia.
So I think I read Hillbilly Elegy before J.D. Vance was vice president. I read the book when it came out, basically. And I didn't even know who J.D. Vance was, other than he was a military guy who went from, very difficult upbringing and such. So I read his book, but I learned about like the Hillbilly Highway, I think they called it, where the work went from, the coal mining was rough, as we know, but then manufacturing up in Michigan and Detroit and such took off. But also there was work in Ohio, and I don't know what the highway was, but they called it the Hillbilly Highway because a lot of folks migrated north, and it looks like even the Yoakams did that.
They come back to school on Monday, but they went home because Columbus was not their home.
Even though I spent the majority of my childhood in Ohio, southeast Kentucky, Floyd County, Betsy Lane was home.
Dwight's frequent trips with his family to Kentucky connected Dwight to a musical heritage that profoundly impacted him. The rustic backwoods and country music that came from the area seemed to give him an identity, a feeling of belonging to a place and a culture.
I had a kind of a birthright to the mountain music that I would hear when we would drive down into Kentucky. It was the family's music I was hearing on the radio there, the bluegrass music, the mountain music that I was hearing.
Dwight grew up with another major influence that asserted itself whether he was in Kentucky or Ohio, the church. The Yoakam family was in church every time its doors were open.
We were in church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday evening. I was raised in the Church of Christ. And any time in between that it was determined that we should all be there. And that had a profound impact on my life.
The church also provided Dwight with a significant musical influence. He loved the old-time gospel hymns that were sung a cappella in the Church of Christ.
It was obvious to me that early country music was what he listened to, and church music.
In my own writing, I notice, I'm aware of the influence of those hymns.
As Dwight moved into his teenage years, his musical interests expanded. By the late 60s, he was listening to a mixture of rock, country, and R&B, ranging from the Supremes and Johnny Horton to Buck Owens and the Beatles, a far cry from the mountain music of Appalachia or the time-honored hymns he was singing in church.
Oh, there was a veritable, sort of say, melting pot cauldron of that devil's music that was going on out there.
When Dwight entered high school in 1970, he had already determined that he wanted to pursue music as a goal. However, he found himself also drawn to another avenue of creative expression, acting. Dwight became a regular in school plays, often winning the lead role. He seemed to be blessed with an innate ability to perform in front of an audience.
Dwight, in high school, had this uncanny ability to know what he could do and what he couldn't do with an audience. And many times I would sit in the back of the auditorium and say, where did he learn that?
Dwight's skill on stage and his ease in front of an audience was all the more remarkable since he was known by all as a very shy and reserved student. Many of Dwight's teachers were amazed at his theatrical side.
One of them said to me, they had me in an English course the previous year, I think my 8th grade year, and they said, I didn't know you could speak. So I guess I was shy.
He was an excellent student in theater, and to be honest with you, I always thought he was a better actor than he was a singer in high school.
It was as a singer, however, that Dwight made his mark in high school. He put together a band known as Dwight and the Greasers. With Dwight on lead vocals, the band whipped up young female excitement wherever they played, and Dwight seemed to lose all his shyness.
He got right down on the floor and was singing to these girls in the front row, and it was, you got the impression that this was some, sex symbol that was, doing this, and it was charged.
His mom said that girls would be waiting in the trees at their house, and
all right. Now, I could tell you this much, too, having been the former owner for 20 years of a dance school for children, ages like 2.5 up to 18. We did some adult classes, but I was on the business side of it. I'm not a dancer, wasn't a dancer, but it was a very large school. It was ballet and modern dance primarily. But, of course, we taught tap, jazz, some hip-hop. in that. But there were some very, very shy kids. I mean, you wouldn't talk much at all. But when they got on stage, they were all in it. They were all about it. Like that was the way they expressed themselves in life. Larry Bird was that way too in basketball, where he was very, very shy. But when he got on the basketball court, that did his speaking for him. And sounds like Dwight may have been the same way back then.
Like even when he was just in a high school band, he had just girls swooning.
Dwight continued to mesmerize the teenage girls of Northland High until he graduated in 1974. He continued to front a rockabilly band and at the same time enrolled in Ohio State University studying philosophy and history.
I said it. I've been saying he's a philosopher. I have been saying that. I had no idea until now. No, but I was a philosophy major at Rutgers, but I'm kind of hoping he's not a big Buckeye fan because I'm a Rutgers guy. And they beat the crap out of us in football every year. Not basketball, but football. But he's a philosopher. I said it.
After 2 years of sporadic attendance at Ohio State and a musical career that was stalled, Dwight headed for Nashville in 1976, looking for work as a performer at Opryland Theme Park. After 2 months in Nashville, he decided to go to California to check out the music scene there.
Wow.
To his surprise, when he arrived in Los Angeles, he had found his true home.
The culture here was just something that, although it was completely foreign to what I was born into and raised around, the Ohio Valley, I mean, it seemed like it was always meant to be for me.
Unlike Nashville, California seemed ripe with creative outlets. He began singing in area honky-tonks, writing songs, and putting together a band. And needing a day job to support his musical pursuits, Dwight drove a truck around L.A. delivering furniture.
He was a furniture mover and lived in an apartment that had very little furniture in it and ate cheese and crackers, I think,
For 5 years, Dwight struggled to make a name for himself in California. He continued to write songs, play with various bands, and hone his vision of country music. However, by 1982, he seemed no closer to his goal than when he had arrived. Constantly struggling to make ends meet, he was now 26 years old with no real prospects in sight. But things were about to start looking up. Coming up, and later, Dwight becomes a reluctant sex symbol.
He was named Man of the Year by the Australian Gay Cowboy Club.
When CMT Inside fame continues.
Jesus.
In 1977, 21-year-old Dwight Yoakam arrived in Los Angeles, California from Columbus, Ohio, by way of a brief and unsuccessful stop in Nashville, determined to break into the world of country music. He was dedicated to an artistic vision of traditional country music that embraced a raw honky-tonk sound with a rock and roll style. However, after 5 years of playing bars and clubs in the LA music scene, he was no closer to his goal.
I was really learning and evolving into myself. That's what was going on those 5 years. I was trying to pay rent, not living large, but living alive.
In 1982, Dwight met Pete Anderson, a 35-year-old guitar player from Detroit. At the insistence of a friend, Dwight dropped in at a local club where Pete was performing.
He came and sat in and played a couple of Merle songs, and I played guitar and knew the right intros, and I guess he was moderately impressed with that.
I played 3 things with him and immediately had an affinity to Pete. I mean, he knew what I was doing, I knew what he was doing, we played it together that way.
They both recognized the chemistry immediately. Excited by the possibilities, they formed a band named Dwight Yoakam and the Kentucky Bourbon. Pete's distinctive guitar licks combined with Dwight's voice and lyrics for an instantly recognizable signature sound.
They seem to complement each other. It's the yin and yang thing. I mean, they both bring to the table, I think, what the other maybe doesn't have.
I had a heavy blues background sliding into country. He had a heavy country background with some bluegrass, and it's bluegrass country, blues country collision.
Right time, right place, I think, for both of us.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. That's part 2. We'll pick up on part 3, but this is fascinating. I'm really happy because just listening to his music and seeing the interview with Whoopi Goldberg that I did, 4 to 6 weeks ago, Renee? I've commented a few times, Dwight's a philosopher. He never said it, But the way he thought, the way he seemed to present his ideas and such about life and his work and the contemplative nature, I said he's a philosopher. And sure enough, I only found out now after my 30th, 40th reaction, I don't know, whatever it's been on the life of the channel to Dwight, that I find out that he studied philosophy at Ohio State. And at least for a couple years until he moved to Nashville and then shot out to LA. I don't think he graduated because it didn't seem like the timeline worked. I think they said he started high school in 1970, which would mean he graduated in 74. And then he left Ohio State in 76. I think they said he went to Nashville in 76. So I mean, he did a year or two and then decided to pursue his musical career, which worked out well. I admire his stick-to-itiveness, driving a truck, for 5 years. And I know it could just be rough. So you got to believe in what you're doing or find a reason to believe in it anyhow, rationalize it somehow to keep pursuing something when it's not working the way you want. And I know what that's like with a lot of things, whether it's my own writing, whether it's whatever, but you keep sticking to it and eventually something might work out. And that's the hard part. There are no guarantees. So anyway, that's Dwight Yoakam's history, part 2. And part 3 will be coming up tomorrow. So you can thank Renee Mooberry for this education and deeper dive into Dwight Yoakam's life, personality, and things like this. All right, guys, have a great day. See you on another video. Keep rocking the country.